The world is going to hell. Of course, that's not a new message. Cicero said 2,000 years ago, "Oh, tempore, oh, mores, oh, the times, oh, the morals." But I think there's a case to be made that's going to hell faster than before. We Americans owe 31 trillion in national debt, $100,000 for every man, woman, and child. There's no way any of us could come up with that sort of money. It'll never get repaid. We have all these new diseases coming out, and all sorts of rules about how we have to behave, and the races are not getting along very well. These are not good times, and everybody wants to blame somebody. The communists blame the capitalists blame the communists. Everybody blames the big corporations and the billionaires. George Soros, Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates. I'm going to offer a novel solution, a novel explanation. It's evolution. We evolved to get into this cul-de-sac. Now, as I offer this, and before I explain it, let me say why nobody will like it. First of all, politicians won't like it because you can't blame anybody for how we evolved to be, and they can't promise to fix it by saying that we're going to do a better job. The liberals won't like it because evolution is a process of differentiation of populations growing more and more different, and according to the standard social science model that the liberals like, we are all the same. All people are the same. We just come in designer colors. But lastly, and the biggest reason of all, is that if we evolved into this, we have to evolve out of it. And evolution is a process of having children, each generation somewhat better than the one before it, which is how we got to be where we are. But having children is hard work. It's thankless work. And people don't really like hard work. It's not human nature. So people aren't going to like this solution because they have to take personal responsibility for it, and that isn't human nature. So that being said, what is the evolutionary explanation? Well, first of all, what is evolution? Sexual evolution works kind of like this. Father has a double strand of DNA. Mommy has a double strand of DNA per chromosome. In the process of meiosis, they split and come together like this to form a new organism, a baby. 50% from mom, 50% from dad, except for mutations. There are 6 billion base pairs in our chromosome, and every generation there is, give or take, 100 mutations. They come from cosmic rays, they come from copying errors. So we are not exactly a product of our parents. These 100 mutations, 90% are harmless, the rest mostly deleterious, but some of them are improvements, and that's how we move forward. You think of evolution as something that happens over the millions of years, like since the dinosaurs, but actually it happens rather rapidly. For instance, my blue eyes showed up in Estonia, they figure, about 10,000 years ago. And because we people with blue eyes are so sexy, it spread throughout the population here in Europe. Even more recently, we were keeping cows in herds for their meat, and we discovered that, if we milk the cows, we get more nutrition than if we kill them. So we started to drink the milk, and we developed lactose tolerance. That's 3,000 or 4,000 years. Now those are physical changes, but the fact is that our genome is 84% controls our brain, controls things that you can't see, but controls behavior. And that has evolved fairly quickly. Scholars like Gregory Clark at University of California, Edward Dutton, say that our intelligence, European intelligence, increased by maybe 15 or 20 points over the last millennium, since between the Dark Ages and the Industrial Revolution. The evidence is that we had much less criminality, more productivity, more literacy, more people were able to read and write, and they used a wider vocabulary. They became able to do things like arithmetic and double entry bookkeeping, and we became more inventive. A whole lot of indirect evidence that we got smarter. Up until the Industrial Revolution, when we were so smart that we were able to invent things like public health, sanitation, toilets, medicines, that kept everybody alive, including the dumb people. And at that point, the dumb people's kids stopped dying, and the smart people had better things to do than have kids. And guess what? Intelligence started to go backwards, down. Not only intelligence. Prior to that, there was what they call purifying natural selection, where the people who were less fit to reproduce didn't, because they had weird personalities that nobody wanted to marry, or if they had babies, they had weird personalities and couldn't make a living and raise them. Anyhow, the less capable, the less well-adjusted people died out. But then came medicines and welfare and all that. We were kind-heartedly able to take care of the people who couldn't take care of themselves, and their children grew to adulthood while we were busy having fun and not having children. And the population grew dumber. But there's more than that. They define evolution as the change in the frequency of alleles within a gene pool over time. And our gene pool has changed because as we're not having children, other people are. So we are bringing Africans and South Asians into the European population, and in America they're bringing descendants of American Indians into the American population. And though you shouldn't say it, they're not as smart as we are. And their personalities are different. We are changing our gene pool by substituting them for us. But that's not all. We're also corrupting our environment with pollutants, such as the glyphosate that we put on all of our crops. We're all exposed to it, that influences our own, that may mutate and affect our own genome. There's things like cell phone radiation. Now, we don't really know the impact of it, but there's a quadrillion times more radio frequency radiation in the atmosphere now than there was in our great-grandparents' day. A quintillion, that's one with 18 zeros after it. We don't know exactly what it does, but there are studies that show that it isn't good, and it may be causing mutations. So we are artificially increasing the rate of our mutation. So all of this stuff is good. So all of this stuff is not good. Moreover, society kind of mutates. What we do changes over time. And just as a rough measure, in the 19th century, right following the Industrial Revolution, we were really good at inventing things that were good for the whole population. People got rich by solving genuine problems for the whole population. We invented railroads. We invented steamships, we invented cars, we invented electricity, we invented radio. All of those things improved life for everybody. People got rich by solving real problems. In the 20th century, they got rich by amusing people with movies, television, stuff like that, and making life easy with all of our household appliances, washing machines, dishwashers, whatnot. And in the 21st century, entrepreneurs are getting rich by solving unreal problems. We don't really need video games, they don't help us. We really don't need social media. People will tell you it's bad for you. And they're designing all of these designer diseases that seem to come out of laboratories, like don't help us whatsoever. And in fact, they hurt us, but the entrepreneurs make billions of dollars solving the problems they created, and that's where we are today. So this is all a product of evolution. So how do we get out of this cul-de-sac of evolution? The only way is the traditional way, the way our ancestors up to the Industrial Revolution did it, which is to have children, raise those children to be like us, and hope that each generation they have something beneficial and they become a little bit better than we were. That sounds like hard work. That requires not blaming people, having children, or raising them right. But human nature goes the other way. Human nature says having children is a lot of work. It's much easier to blame somebody, and it's much easier to relax and enjoy the social media or whatever the amusements of the day are. So this is my observation. Nobody wants to hear this argument that it's evolution to blame, and nobody wants to hear that we have to evolve out of it by having children who are like us and even a little bit better. But that's the way it is. Madam Toastmaster.